Cognitive warfare is the new rage of the NATO lunatics who view behind every dissenting opinion in the social media space the long arm of the almighty Vladimir Putin. NATO produces reports, conferences and even newsletters dedicated to cognitive warfare, admitting and arguing for its use not only against foreign populations, but against domestic audiences too. Here to once again discuss propaganda and this new understanding of the mind as a battleground is Thomas S. Karat, the host of the YouTube show SaltCube Analytics. Thomas, welcome back.
Great speaking to you again, Lothar. Pascal. See, I make the mistake again.
No problem. We just
Really
talked
great.
about that before we start, but this is totally fine. I really want to know, Thomas, you were looking in detail at propaganda, right? And the way also that people are being manipulated. I mean, your channel is a beautiful example of how you then try to unpack the several layers of manipulation. Can you tell us a little bit more about NATO's cognitive warfare?
Yes, I'm happy to. NATO's cognitive warfare program, I mean, in a nutshell, it was presented in 2020 at the convention somewhere, and it's being implemented since 2022. Yeah, so basically it's a battlefield. It's a domain that sees the brain as the new battlefield of NATO's armies. Yeah. Now, before we go there, so in my perception, yeah, we are living already in a velvet cage without knowing. Yeah, and there's a number of chains that kind of keep us there, right? And these chains are being implemented little by little. So at the beginning, when I started to talk about the velvet chains, sorry, it's still early for me. And I have not drunken my first coffee yet. This is virtually my first coffee.
Have a good sip. The velvet chains. What are the velvet chains?
The velvet cage. Yeah, we are already in a velvet cage. And the velvet chains are a number. And I would like to briefly go through a number of them because it works as towards cognitive warfare, and then you understand that all of these, they work together. Yeah, and it's not like the individual, the combination of the individual elements are more than just the sum of the elements, right? So I would like to start with CSFP 2025. I mean, it's such a boring administrative name, yeah, but it's a European Council decision from 2025 966. The point is, and again, this is already implemented. There is a entity in Europe that completely circumvents any courts. And if you get caught in the net because you posted something that the European Council doesn't like, for example, Patrick Barb, whom I interviewed, he was in Russia, but also in Ukraine, yeah. There are already a number of German journalists who are prevented from entering their home country, Germany, because of CSFP 2025. It can travel bans, asset freezes, and not only your asset freezes, also your family's asset freezes. Yeah, financial blockade by proxy, these kind of things. So for posting something, so for voicing an opinion that is counter the mainstream narrative, you can get caught in this CSFP 2025 Council resolution, and there's nothing you can do. You cannot object.
So you're talking about the case where the European Council actually implemented sanctions against 2 German citizens, 2 journalists. Patrick Barb himself is luckily not one of them, but the other 2, I mean, he's worked on those. And those are very draconian sanctions that make life in your home country basically impossible. And they're just out there and they're in effect right now.
Yeah, the point is that this is already being implemented. Now, you said, I think I mentioned it before. So 2-3 weeks ago, I held a presentation in Cork where I presented my chains, the velvet cage, yeah, and that was in front of an audience who knows that they're in the crosshair of the state. Now, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised. There was a grave lack of awareness and knowledge of these kind of policies that are already being implemented, even in an audience who know that they're in the crosshairs of the state. And this, by implication, I mean, let's say the regular people on the street, they're even less aware of that, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first one. So the next one, and I don't want to spend too much time on them because I really want to talk about NATO's cognitive warfare. But
Please.
the next one is chat control. Yeah. So chat control is for now being halted. I say it very carefully. They tried to push it through already in the European Court, but at the moment it's on hold because some of the countries, one of which is Germany, they, in a very vague formulation, they say no, they need some greater assurances about privacy. But chat control in principle means that the state, and again, this. You could think, okay, this is Europe, or this is America, but this is coming everywhere. And it doesn't matter if it's in Russia, in China, in Europe, or in America. Chat control means that the states want to have an absolute visibility on anything that you communicate. So any information that you communicate. So any platform such as Facebook sowieso, yeah, but what is it, Telegram, Twitter, whatever, they want to have the information that you are posting. They want to have full access. Now, mind you, yeah, please. So feel free to interrupt me.
Because you're talking about a proposal. I'm not sure if it was the EU Parliament or the Commission that proposed that chat providers like WhatsApp, Line, Telegram, by law would need to be obliged to be able to provide the clear, readable messages of everybody on the platform to them.
Exactly.
The transparent user, and not just about what they post in forums, but what people communicate among each other.
They want to have access to what you have on your device. That's the thing. That's also one thing. You have your device. You say, I'm safe because I have a VPN. VPN in, VPN out. Now with on-device AI, like Apple just is introducing, they can have visibility to anything that you see, to anything you do, because it's viewed by the on-device AI after it's decrypted and before it's encrypted when it gets out. Yeah. And interestingly, in regards to chat control, again, I'm pulling up my notes here. Denmark, who is a free liberal democracy, they are pushing this now because they are on the head of the EU Council presidency at the moment. Yeah? So Germany, they were quite vague. Luxembourg and Slovakia are clear opposition, but other countries here, Austria, Netherlands, Poland, Finland, Czech Republic, Estonia, Belgium, etc., they are kind of, they want to have stronger safeguards, whatever that means. Yeah, but I can guarantee you they will try to push this through. Okay, so this is, please.
No, it's insane that this is coming from the European Union, which has been so obsessed with user protection and GDPR and so on, privacy, and now privacy is understood as we will keep information. We will keep our information safe from you, but your information is ours by default, and we will look and scan through it for however we see fit, with the exception, of course, that chat messages, WhatsApp messages of Mrs. von der Leyen. I mean, they are gone when they're gone, even when they're about several billions of vaccine money, but they're gone. But ours can never be gone, right? That's going to be the change.
Look, I have a IT tech background. Anything that's on a digital medium sits in a glass house. Anything. Yeah. There is no, you can, this whole encryption thing is fantasy. Now I'm just looking into VPNs, for example, where apparently even safe VPNs, are questionable. Who really owns them? Who is behind? I don't know if you know Susie Dawson. She is a New Zealand journalist who lives in exile in Russia. I just interviewed her. Her story is absolutely amazing. New Zealand journalist, for criticizing the state, investigating the state, had to flee her own country and lives now in Russia. Yeah. So these kind of things are coming.
Yeah. Now how does that connect with cognitive warfare? How does it connect with the plans of NATO? Because so far we've been talking about the EU.
I come. Yeah. So the next one is digital ID. No. What I should have highlighted a bit strong at the beginning. So all these policies, they are under different names, and in different versions, they're spreading globally, right?
Mm.
So you cannot see this in isolation because, again, what I said, it doesn't matter. I mean, the classic cases are, of course, Russia, China. If you say, propaganda and total surveillance, people still live under the illusion, this is North Korea, this is Russia, this is China, this is... My counter argument is, well, this is true, but in China and in Russia, people do know, or in North Korea, people do know. Yeah, but here, if you talk to people on the street, they think, we have the free press, propaganda, it's illegal. There's a total disconnect between what the people on the street believe and the actual reality. Yeah. So the next point here is digital ID systems. Again, what I said, this is being rolled out. This is being rolled out globally, right? Digital ID means you need to have your physical. You have to have a digital ID that is connected to your real life identity, and they want to make it a basic step for accessing even the internet, right?
I've had a discussion about this the other day also on my channel, and also regarding the fact that in Switzerland we just had a vote about this, and we through a public referendum actually accepted that. But the question
by
is
0.3%. By
0.3, yeah. But just as an explanation, a lot of Swiss referendums are about like the 1-2% margin. This one was close, but it's not unseen that they're close. But anyhow, the point is that the digital ID itself as a technology is less the issue than what kind of other regulations countries can come up with, what you can use them for, right? I mean, there's nothing that would prevent Switzerland or Germany or the Netherlands to require a physical ID to actually get gasoline at the gas station, right? But that's not what we do. That's not what the IDs are for. Digital IDs, in the same sense, could be used for absolutely legitimate purposes, but the fear is that they will be used in order to curtail our ability to participate in social life, right?
You will understand why I go through these lists, working both of us towards NATO, because that's exactly it. In isolation, all those policies, they see kind of, right? Like in Switzerland, we believe the government, so we agree to digital IDs. But if you connect them, if you're being stopped for buying a train ticket or airplane ticket or buying a certain food because you already have your carbon footprint, exceeded for this month, this gets more serious. Yeah. But on that level, digital ID, if you need digital ID to even access internet, it doesn't mean it's just the access of the internet. It means it's 100% transparency. I mean, as far as it's not already there, what you do on the internet, with whom you communicate, what you access, these kind of things. Right? So at the moment, it's still kind of, I use a VPN and it's kind of semi-anonymized. Yeah. With digital ID, this is 100% gone. 100%
I mean, if required, right? The point is like, would governments start requiring a digital ID in order to access the internet? I mean, that's a different step from just having the ID. And did you see ideas like this, like the digital ID requirement for all and any services?
This is the introduction as a digital ID, as a kind of digital passport, is the first step. But let's not kid ourselves. There is, again, all these policies, when you look at them in combination, you will see where the drive, and this is my last question then, yeah? Where is this all going to? What are the governments anticipating? What are they so afraid for that they feel they have to introduce all those policies, right? And this is actually the scary part, because if you look under this lens, because they're not spending, I don't know how many billions all those policies cost to being implemented, just to kind of, because they foresee a happy future. This is not going to be it. Okay.
So if you put all of these pieces together, where's the journey going? And
let's keep this question for the end, because I still have a couple of things, yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on the next one, because it's widely popularized already. CBDCs, central bank digital currency, similar to the digital ID with central bank digital currency. And here I heard Christine Lagarde like a week ago again, and the latest interview that she said, we have to push this as hard as possible and we will implement this as fast as possible. Central bank digital currency. Apologies. So what it means, again, digital money. So people say, we already basically have digital money, credit card, everything is digital. It's a total different ballgame. Digital currency means, again, any anonymity is gone, 100%. But the state can tell you, you can spend your money here, but not here. You have to spend it till end of next month, otherwise it's gone. If you do this, you won't get any. If you do that, it's being blocked. Yeah. So as a political tool in order to manipulate the population, central bank digital currencies are an extreme powerful tool in combination with the other items that I have already mentioned. Right. So please.
Yes, I mean, I agree that they're a powerful tool, but again, it's the regulation, right? The thing is, the central bank actually is, of course, a branch of the government, but it is maybe the most isolated of the branches, right? In most countries, not all of them, but in most countries, the central banks are extremely independent from the rest of government. So, but again, government could make rules based upon the technology available. So what I get is that what we need to be worried about is to create the digital ability to take decisions in the future, right?
Absolutely. And again, I'm fully conscious that I'm rushing things and that I make it very black and white. I'm completely aware. Yeah. But the danger that we are having here, when you combine all these policies, is is simply gravely underestimated. We are pointing at China because the digital currency is already implemented in China. To a large extent, and when opponents of China point to these kind of things, we think it's far away, but it's not. It's coming hard and fast. Here in Europe, there were, I think, 2 or 3 countries where they already tried to implement CBDCs and it failed, right? So my prediction is that we will need a shock. Now, the countries who try to implement CBDCs, they will need a shock to get this implemented. And it can be a natural occurring shock, natural in quotation marks, or a design shock, which we have seen before, right? So,
okay. And are there other points on the list that you think that we need to keep at the back of our minds before talking about the cognitive warfare?
Yeah, I have one last one, and this is I don't know what's really worth. Yeah, National Security Presidential Memorandum Number 7, NSPM 7, recently signed. I think it was beginning of October by President Trump. Have you heard about it?
No. What is it about?
It basically criminalizes thought. President Trump has equated dissenting thought with terrorism. And again, I have my notes here. It grants intelligence and treasury agencies authority to investigate, sanction, or restrict individuals or groups spreading destabilizing narratives, even absent espionage or foreign ties, including ideological and belief-based risks. So that means Trump can prosecute you as a terrorist based on what you believe. That means without any criminal activity on your part, without anything that brought you into contact with a court, he can prosecute you on the same level as terrorism. And I have a couple of other things here. So integrate social media surveillance, behavioral analytics. This is again what people don't realize. All this big data that we are providing is behaviorally analyzed in order to not only predict what we are doing, but also steer us, coming to NATO cognitive warfare, what we are doing. Okay. So I strongly encourage anyone, look it up. National Security Presidential Memorandum Number 7. Yeah, the information is available, right? And that leads me linea recto into NATO's cognitive warfare program. But before we do, any questions to translate this memorandum?
I mean, unfortunately, it's not even a big shock. It's a national progression of what the Trump administration has been doing before. I mean, let's just remember he already kind of cemented that any foreigner living in the United States, anyone who does not hold a U.S. passport, any foreign national, the U.S. Constitution doesn't apply to them. The U.S. reserves the right to deport anyone at any moment for anything that the foreign office, sorry, the Secretary of State, the State Secretariat, like, decides. And this stands in front of the courts. Actually, no court so far has reversed course. There was a bit of a pushback, but at the moment, if you're a foreigner in the United States, you basically have to accept that the current administration holds that the Constitution of the US doesn't apply to you. And of course, in this sense, also free speech rights and so on don't apply. Now, this is though a step further into the absolute criminalization, even of speech and belief acts of the rest of the citizenry. But in a sense, it's a natural progression, unfortunately.
Coming back to what I said at the beginning, so each of those policies, they are global. Remember CSFP 2025, what we discussed at the beginning? Same thing. You're being prosecuted based on what you post on social media and not because you're doing something. And I'm not talking about hate speech. Yeah. So that's the American version. But of course, Trump kind of, increases the magnitude of his policies. Yeah. Good. Cognitive warfare. So how do you explain cognitive warfare? As a behavior analyst, I'm really interested in it because I know that the mechanisms that they're applying are working. They're basically aiming at what's known in psychology as cognitive biases, right? So cognitive warfare doesn't change what you think, it changes how you think about it, right? And it does so by manipulating attentions, emotions, and identity until obedience. Your obedience basically feels like independent judgment. You think it's your own. Yeah. So cognitive warfare isn't about hacking machines, although people sometimes, I mean, who was it? Hacking the brain, Israeli guy, very well known. Yuval Harari, yeah, hacking the brain, right? That's exactly what they're doing. So cognitive warfare targets is the human nervous system, how we feel, how we interpret. Yeah. So it's basically the sixth domain of warfare. Now I have a couple of notes and a couple of excerpts in front of me, which is from the original document from NATO, and I can send it. I can send the original document to you if you want to. Yeah. So I have a couple of.
And I'll link them, or send me the links, and I'll put the links into the description, because sometimes it's difficult to believe what kind of stuff NATO publishes, but they do. They're not even shy about it. Can you read maybe the most important passages?
Yes, I have it in front of me. Number one, the human mind is now being considered as the new domain of war. I said it already. After land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. So this is the new domain of war. Your mind. Everyone contributes to it, also to cognitive warfare, and it provides invaluable knowledge on society, especially open societies, such as those in the West. This knowledge can be easily weaponized. Again, this comes from NATO's original document. The goal is not to attack what individuals think, but rather the way they think. Then cognitive warfare is potentially endless, which is true, yeah. Since there can be no peace treaty or surrender for this type of conflict. Of course, it goes on already for a long time, and it will continue to do so. Then the exploitation of human cognition has become a massive industry, also true, and it is expected that emerging artificial intelligence tools will soon provide propagandists radically enhanced capabilities to manipulate human minds and change human behavior. But it gets even worse. Products of neuroscience and neurotechnological research can be utilized to affect now memory, learning, cognition speed, vague sleep cycles, fatigue and alertness, impulse control, mood, anxiety and self-perception, decision-making, trust and empathy, and movements and performance. It gets worse. In military warfare settings, modifying these functions can be utilized to mitigate aggression and foster cognitions and emotions of affiliation by passivity, induce morbidity, disability or suffering, and neutralize potential opponents or incur mortality. This is a frank discussion of weaponizing advances in neuroscience for direct military use on populations. It's not on foreign soldiers, on populations, right?
Yeah.
Again, I know I took a bit time on reading this because it's really important for people to understand where this is going.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is and I will make a video about this very soon. NATO at this point is utterly insane. The people in charge of NATO are lunatics, maniacs, and the fact that they put out this kind of stuff, that they think that this shines a positive light on them, just shows how bizarre the mental map on the world of these people is. But unfortunately, that's what we live with. So the thing is, also they speak about populations, and of course, when we talk about standard warfare, we've got the Geneva Conventions, and civilians are not the legitimate targets of this. Now, of course, these people, these maniacs, they've been working overtime in order to blur these lines forever. And the most normal thing of warmongers is that they try to declassify everybody as a combatant, right? So they can blow up grandmothers and little children because that's for some sick reason. That's how they think what needs to be done. But what's new with this cognitive warfare is that they officially designate targets not only foreign populations, civilian populations, but domestic. Their domestic civilian population, the people that they're supposed to protect as potential targets. Can you speak to this one a little bit?
Yeah, the interesting question, of course, is why do they feel they have to do that? Yeah, because they see that they are losing legitimacy. Yeah, so there is how shall I say this? There's a propaganda war going on. One step back. So, who was it? Lord Ismahin. I think he was the first General Secretary of the NATO, who said already the aim of NATO is to keep America in, Germany down, and Russia out. Now, there's a website called Lord Ismail Restated, where you can see this statement revamped throughout different American administrations, almost to the current one, who kind of emphasize this trend. So what we're seeing here is a ideological war between the worldview, the Russian worldview, let's say, and the Western worldview, and the absolute aim is to prevent German kind of the word on my mind was unification, but there will be no unification, of course. But German know-how with Russian resources. That's basically because there could be a direct competitor to America, right? So people think America is Germany's friend. No, guys, no. Who blew up Nord Stream? I talked to Jeffrey Sachs. I don't know who. A lot of people. America is behind the blowing up of the Nord Stream, right?
So just let's remind ourselves, in the best version of reality, I mean best to the NATO warmongers, in the best of best realities, the Nord Stream pipeline was blown up by the country that you're sending all of these billions of dollars to fight a proxy war with Russia, and that's the best version. That's the most benevolent interpretation of what happened. In all other interpretations, all other possibilities are worse because it would be NATO itself. But let's continue.
No. This is why they need the fear. I mean, in Germany, it's like crazy, the fear about Russia, because they need this fear, right? So Germany is now supposed to, I come back, Germany is now supposed to pay 5% of GDP in weaponry. Now, where's this money going to? Who is the beneficiary? Now, who are the arms manufacturers who get, Germany is the fourth largest economy in the world, right?
Somewhere around there, top 6, top 5.
Something, yeah. So this is a massive amount of money that linear rector goes into America. So America not only gets now the money from this LNG gas that we have to pay, that Europe, not only Germany, has to buy now from America, but also from those arms. So there is a financial incentive behind this whole cognitive warfare. We need to have this enemy there in Russia and the coming enemy already China, because the more and more they kind of interlink, which is exactly what Brzezinski warned us in 1997 not to do, right? Keyword Brzezinski. I found something that I didn't know when I did my research for my little presentation here. Have you heard about the word tititainment?
No?
It comes from Brzezinski, right? Tititainment, a psychological and nutritional. So they were kind of discussing. So what are we gonna do with the population? They're gonna lose a lot of jobs. They were then already talking about artificial intelligence, and then he came up as a Brzezinski, who was what was he under Jimmy Carter, former national security advisor under Jimmy Carter, yeah. And he coined this term in 1995 by a convention of the World Forum convened by Michael Gorbachev in the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco in 1995. Yeah? Present, George H.W. Bush, Margaret Thatcher, Ted Turner, and Brzezinski. And he coined this tititainment. The phrase encapsulated the idea that a frustrated, superfluous global majority could be pacified with cheap entertainment, spectacle, and minimum substance, yeah, ensuring social order while a small technocratic elite managed the real levels of power. And the interesting thing is a psychological and nutritional minimum. Yeah, this is what the guys already discussed in 1995. Brzezinski, the same Brzezinski that warned us of driving Russia in the arms of China, which we are seeing exactly. And I think it was U.S. Ambassador Just Freeman who told me, and I know he was on your show too, and they're even more stupid than that. They even threw a nuclear-armed North Korea into the mix, right? So again, coming back to NATO's cognitive warfare, NATO and by extension, European and global governments losing at legitimacy. And this is why they are jumping on this train, which was sparked actually by Cambridge Analytica, right?
You're right.
So I hope people know what Cambridge Analytica is, but NATO's cognitive warfare was sparked by that. And what's the key term of Cambridge Analytica? Micro-targeting. What does that mean? Thanks to all this information that we are spreading, voluntary and involuntary over the internet, those big companies have psychological profiles about each of us, which are, I try to figure out which word to use here, because it's so sophisticated that in psychological terms, Yuval Harari is right. They already hacked the human mind. They know us better as we do ourselves. I mean, it sounds really abstract to people. How can a machine or anyone or anything can know me better than I know myself? It's not that difficult. As a behavior analyst, I can tell you, we humans are so easy to influence. It's just incredible. Yeah, cognitive biases, right?
Yeah, and you know, it's also difficult to imagine just how well done these profiles are, in which, you know, just out of the combination of all the things that are known, like age, gender, educational background, and search behavior on the internet, these algorithms are then able to predict with like whatever percentage chance that maybe this person will soon have a child. There will this woman might be pregnant. Therefore, why not serve the ads for children's wear to them and stuff like that? And people see that on the internet, right? You see how Google, etc., targets us quite precisely with the advertisements that we see. Or how often do you see advertisement that had nothing to do with yourself? Or do the experiment, sign in on in incognito mode on Google and so on, and have a look at what kind of ads are being shown, and you suddenly realize, oh no, the ones I usually see are much better targeted toward me. And that, of course, that is an open field for governments to work with.
In 2016, was it right? Trump won the first time. It was 2016, I believe. Yeah.
16, he came in.
Yeah. So he won thanks to Cambridge Analytica. He didn't win because of Russia, whatever. And no, it was Cambridge Analytica and their micro-targeting of millions and millions and millions of Facebook users, which they kind of illegally, because they had the core users and all their friends they scraped the data from. Yeah. So that's micro-targeting. And they knew when to target the people. They knew which people to target because they just didn't blindly target anyone. Yeah. So they target exactly those where they knew they're kind of, the proponents you don't have to target. The absolute opponents you also don't need to target because you don't win them over. But those in the middle, those you target. And you target them with absolute precision. Yeah. You know them, you know when you target them, where they are in the mood cycle. You know with which arguments you target them. You even know with which phraseology you target them. Yeah. So it goes very deep.
And but there is something new here. I mean, we were aware of this, but we used to call this propaganda. We were aware of propaganda. We were aware of manipulation and so on. But that now this is being, or has already for a while, been transported into the security realm, securitized propaganda, and that this is being reconceptualized as a form of warfare. That makes everything worse, in my view, even worse. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So first of all, the key in cognitive warfare is that it speaks to what we call cognitive biases. Now, if you think you don't have any cognitive biases, there is, I think it's on Harvard, implicit association test. You will find it. So I think Harvard University implicit association test, they have a number of what they call implicit association tests, but basically you can measure certain of your cognitive biases. And even if you know them, if you do it repeatedly, you have the same result because it goes on speed and subconscious. Yeah. So I invite everybody, go Harvard implicit association test. They have tests on race, on gender, all kinds of things. Unfortunately, not about, let's say, Israel or this kind of thing. So they keep it safe. Yeah. But the point is, you can see the concept. Yeah. And this is what NATO's cognitive warfare really triggers. They go after your brain, and they're not going about the part of the brain, let's say the neocortex, the reason. They go on the part of the brain that's under the surface. Let's say to use this kind of image. So our mind, let's say, is this iceberg floating in the sea. Well, 1/10 I think is above and 9/10 are below. So the 1/10 above is like your neocortex, your reason. All the decisions are being made under the surface. And NATO is exactly aiming at the part of your psyche that's under the water surface. Now, to drive this image further, you have the water current, right? So the water current pushes the iceberg. And then you have a little bit of wind coming from the other direction. The iceberg still follows the water current because it's much, much, much stronger than the wind that can influence the top 10th of the iceberg, right? So this is where they're aiming to. And again, you think you can arm yourself against cognitive warfare. No, you can't. Even as a psychologist, even as a behavior, I'm not a psychologist, just to be sure, but even as a behavior analyst, knowing most or many of those cognitive biases, shortcuts, right, which come from ancient times. One example, we take, who did this experiment? So they took babies 3, 4, 5 years old, babies 3, 4, 5 days old from a civilized country, a Western country. So this baby never, also even the grandfathers haven't really faced poisonous snakes. And showed the babies the piece of a garden hose, and they drew a little bit of blood to test for the hormones, and they found the same response than a child in South Africa, for example, which still can die from a snake, right? So we have these ancient programs, that's how I call it, in our minds that react like 10, maybe many more years ago, right? So we have a modern skull, but the systems in our modern skull are ancient, and they're still working like they did then.
One of the questions that's on my mind is, this cognitive warfare, the way that NATO is conceptualizing this and the way that they're setting it up. Do you think that these people run the danger of, creating something like the what's it called, the magician, the Zauberlehrling,
Mhm.
the apprentice, the magician's apprentice, where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
where he conjures
yeah.
up the brooms that work on their own, but then the brooms
Mhm.
never stop to pour water into the well until everything overflows. Because we already have examples of how, for instance, in the United States, some of these groups self-manipulated by, for instance, claiming that Donald Trump only won because of Russiagate. We know that Russiagate was an absolute fraud. It was a completely manufactured fraud. But by now, this fraud has become so ingrained, especially within the Democratic Party circles, that that is being used as a self-evident truth that Russia
Mhm.
interfered in the U.S. elections. And that's a way of a society like manipulating itself into believing something absurd. But then once it's in the DNA of certain groups, well, you've got it as a truth by itself. Do you think that we're running that danger as well of self-manipulating even those institutions?
Yes, but there is one more step to that. So when I started to investigate this, my initial reflex was to kind of project this onto the population.
Mhm.
But that's only partly true, because
Mm.
the politicians, the leaders, the CEOs, they're also affected.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is manipulated by this kind of things than all of us. So then my question was, so okay, if that's the case, who is really running the show? If the people, even the American president, or I mean, who is really in power? I don't know. Is it now corporations? Is it the deep state? I don't know. But even if key personnel of individuals are also logically, of course, they're also affected. Maybe not in that specific segment, but in the other 99%. Yeah, and another
Yeah.
person, So who is really running the show? So yes, there is a kind of self-perpetuation ongoing here, driven by this innate stereotypical competition that America is this kind of exceptionalist country and has to rule the world because this is what they want to do ideologically and militarily.
And like if there are a couple of people in the back rooms that actually understand what's happening and who are themselves not affected, then, well, we are being controlled and manipulated. But if they themselves are affected by what they do and by the feedback mechanisms, then we're in a psychosis. Then we
Yeah.
have a mass societal psychosis, and that one is even more dangerous than the goddamn people in the back rooms.
Yeah. Especially because we are now seeing the convergence of a couple of storms that could
Mm.
lead to a superstorm. Yeah,
Yes.
we're having a global push to the right politically, and right, I'm not even sure is the right terminology anymore. Number one, then we are facing, and I keep saying it, we are facing an ecological drama. So Iceland, or is it Greenland? My bad. I think I saw a documentary from some scientists. Either Iceland. Where's the largest ice sheet? Iceland or Greenland? I think it's Greenland. It's
Probably
counterintuitive.
Greenland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On some parts, it loses 6 to 8 meters ice every single year. Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
and then we are discussing, who's to blame? Is it man-made? Is it not man-made? Who cares? If the conveyor belt changes that regulates the climate, the global climate, which is already slowing down, yeah.
Mm.
Not to mention that if all the ice would melt, the sea levels would rise by 7 meters. I mean, I'm living 4.5 meters below sea level here in the Netherlands, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So these kind of things. So then, also we have the ecology, we have the economy, then the political confrontation that's going on now. Yeah, everywhere. I
Mm.
wrote an article about Pacific War. I called it
Mm.
Pacific Wargasm. And coincidentally, it was read by Évariste Bartholo, which I
Mm.
interviewed a couple of weeks in Malta, and I saw you have a recent interview of him. Yeah,
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah, a former foreign
I saw
minister
it.
of Malta. Yeah, he's a
Yes, yes, yes.
great mind. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So I was alarmed by what I found. It's incredible how far the preparation for a hot war with China that America is driving is ongoing, and this is not for bluff. This is massive. Yeah. I have all these articles on my Substack. Yeah. So merging these kind of things explains precisely why NATO needs this kind of how shall I say this? I have a very unkind word on my tongue now, yeah, but this kind of manipulation techniques on their own population, because without the support of their own population, they will not be able to continue to lead those wars, which all fund American arms manufacturer. It's so cliche. War is a racket. It's such a cliche. Yeah. If you allow me, and I know you're busy, we have a couple of minutes left. I have two little things that I would like to highlight as a kind of demonstration of how cognitive warfare can look like. Yeah. Have you heard about Project Esther?
It rings a bell, but I can't recall. What is it?
Yeah. So again, I have plenty of articles on my Substack. Project Esther was an Israeli project where they paid global influencers up to $150,000 a month to kind of spread to the millions of followers. Can we call it fake news, manipulated news, propaganda, however you call it? Yeah. That blew up. Again, if any listener want to have a Substack, it's all outlined there. It was quite a scandal. Yeah. Now the interesting part is, and it was in my presentation. They said, so the influencers in retrospect said, but we didn't know. Yeah, but they signed NDAs. Let me just quickly look. They signed NDAs, and in the NDAs, it was a specific clause. I don't find it now. Let me have a look. Where the heck is it? There was a specific clause that made sure that it is absolutely, it has to be absolutely prevented that it's going back to Israel.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the money givers, the money donors in many instances don't want to be identified, right? Because that's the whole game. You have an agenda, therefore you hide this. It's not even difficult to understand. It's just like with Israel, it's so large that some of these donation schemes actually come out, including of course, all the money that the extended Israel lobby is giving, not directly the lobby like what Mearsheimer researched, but people like, what's her name, the big donor, the lady who gave so much money to Trump, just the extended Israel lobby, right? And please.
Yeah. Also Esther project. The interesting part here is it went under the radar. Why? Because all those influencers, they didn't talk about politics. They talk about cafe latte. They talk about nail polish, this kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's a easy to understand example of cognitive warfare, because this too is cognitive warfare. Yesterday I saw for a brief moment, I saw a really stupid program. It's called, I think, Kingsman or something. It's a kind of a parody. Yeah. But it's absolute propaganda. Like in our times, Top Gun. It was propaganda. Yeah, that type of thing. So, but there is a more specific, it's called Integrity Initiative. Yeah, that was in 2018. It was leaked. It was, this operation had direct financial pipelines from the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Now, what did they do? And MI6, by the way. Yeah. So they had groups of influencers, journalists, and academics. Now, this is what I want to point out. There is a convergence between those kind of entities, so that you're getting spent, or whatever, how you want to call it, from all different angles. Yeah.
Yes.
Influencers, journalists, and academics. And if you allow me one last point, again, I talked about this on my presentation. When we talk about influence and power, we cannot not talk about Larry Ellison and his son David Ellison. Now, this whole TikTok, China, again, I have a tech background. This whole TikTok scare had nothing to do with China, but everything to do with Israel. I even have this clip where Netanyahu says, what's the number one, in TikTok? Yeah. So Netanyahu said it himself. So Larry Ellison, co-founder of Oracle. Oracle, full on my field, data centers in the past, and now AI data centers, total different ballgame. Yeah. But this is where he makes his money. He has the Pentagon as one of his biggest customers. Now, on the Oracle servers, we have now the behavioral data of 170 million Americans. I didn't know that so many Americans even used TikTok. Yeah. So the father has the hardware and the behavioral data of 170 million Americans. Now, what did the son do? Skydance merger with Paramount. So David Ellison, who is Larry Ellison's 41-year-old son, if I'm not mistaken, owns now a massive media conglomerate, PBS being one of them. But from both, from the entertainment side and also from the news side. Now, I'm asking you, how is this converging? Whose narrative will David Ellison, via his massive media empire, whose narrative will he spread? Right? Whom will he try to influence?
It's
right?
really not difficult to guess, yeah.
Just to give you one more thing. So Larry Ellison, because many people say, that, okay, these are private companies, so why political? Now, hacked emails where Larry Ellison apparently vetted, let me have a look here, I have it open, Marco Rubio's stance vis-a-vis Israel, yeah, and I think, who was it, Marco Rubio, yeah, but which, yeah, so we have the emails. I tried to figure out, was it UK Declassified or something? They published the emails. I have it in front of me. I can't share it now. Yeah. So there was a whole email string between Ron Prosser, who is currently Israel's ambassador in Germany. And previously he was a permanent representative at the United Nations, ambassador to the UK, blah, blah, blah. So this guy kind of mediated between, let Larry Ellison vet Marco Rubio in terms of how suitable he is in, to promote Israel's interests. As an American politician, again, I just bring this up, there is a merger between those private entities, the state, yeah, corporate like Oracle, Larry Ellison, and politics, right? And then, of course,
it's very sad because we're getting closer and closer to the definition of like good old Mussolini type fascism, where the fascism is the merger of the state and the private corporations and the subsuming of the will of the leaders of all of these branches. But yeah, we're getting closer and closer.
This brings me back to what I said at the beginning. We are already living in a velvet cage. At least in our nice Western world, the cage is still velvet. In other countries, not. Right? And what I try to kind of explain are the chains that keep us in this velvet cage, and one after the other. And I'm pretty sure if you talk in a year, there will be other additional chains that they're implementing in order to keep us there, right? And that's the really scary part.
Yeah, and as you said in the beginning, I mean, one of the successful parts of this is that a large part of the population is completely ignorant of it. In other propagandized societies, at least the propagandized are aware that this is the speech acts that we need to put up with because that's just how the system runs. But in the West, a lot of this was so successful that people just think this is how the world is. It's normal.
Yeah. Because you just said speech acts. Coincidentally, I just released, I analyzed 10, 15 headlines, only the headlines in the lead up to Mamdani's win of the mayoral elections in New York. Yeah, it's just 2 or 3 days ago. Yeah, just the headlines, because they study. I mean, you notice 70-85% of the people, they only read the headlines. Makes me wonder, why are we writing full articles in the first place? But that shows how important and how impacting headlines can be. And I analyzed from a linguistic perspective, a semantic perspective, some of those headlines, and it's just crazy if you see what's really the underlying message which goes into the subconscious of people, because again, people underestimate the strength of words completely. But you can see the manipulations, right? So I encourage people to have a look, because if you consume only the headlines, basically the headlines become the news for you, right? And they are designed by professionals. They know exactly what they do. Every single word has a purpose.
Yeah. I mean, and we this is, anyone who's been following the genocide in Gaza, for instance, understands the pervasiveness and the manipulative nature of calling one group of people hostages and the other group prisoners. That in and of itself is already such a perverse way of conveying the right message, the right worldview, right? But it's the beautiful thing is that these journalists, they don't even need to be instructed. They understand it themselves. They know what the good tone is and what the right word to use in order to stay on the good side of your boss and your and the owners of the newspapers.
I'm in contact with two journalists, both working for the BBC, but on different continents, and they both told me independently, if they would report the truth, they would be out of a job by tomorrow. Yeah. By tomorrow.
This is what Patrick Bob keeps saying. I mean, you know, if your articles were rejected 3 times, or your proposals for an article, the 4th time you understand what you're going to do and what you have to do. So this is how the machine creates this lockstep, right? It works very well.
Patrick Bob, again, incredibly courageous. This guy goes without the backing of a large corporation, without safety parachute. He goes into Russia and Ukrainian combat zones on his own, And on his way back, then he's kind of, how shall I say this? You know, from his own country, then he's kind of justicized and you know, not only from police and customs, but also from journalists, from the media. Incredible courage.
Yeah, and courage is what we need. So I also thank you, Thomas, for the courage to speak about all of this.
The same goes for you, Pascal. The same goes for you.
You know, I sit in Japan, and honestly, I feel a little bit safer over here. But you are in one of the eyes of the storm. I do believe Europe is at the moment at a very dangerous crossroads. In Japan, I feel a little bit more protected, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Be careful. I mean, Daniele Ganser, who I interviewed, also thought he's safe. You know, in secure Switzerland, he lost his university position based on American pressure in Switzerland.
No, I mean, we feel safe until we aren't, right? Until they catch us. So, I mean, absolutely true. Anyhow, Thomas, people who want to read more from you or watch you, they should first and foremost go to your YouTube channel, SaltCube Analytics. Is there your Substack, of course? Is there another place to find you?
I am. My minuscule Twitter account has been permanently suspended, believe it or not. And all I did was posting shots of my interviews. I'm on TikTok, but hardly. I'm on Instagram, but hardly. I mean, the spread on TikTok since this new kind of algorithm change is restricted to 200, 300 views. Not surprisingly, because the CEO of Twitter, of course, the new, was on Trump's inauguration, by a second term. So. This kind of thing. No, mostly YouTube and if you read long-form analysis, as a really deep dive analysis, on my Substack.
Okay. I'll put both your YouTube channel and your Substack into the description of this video below. Thomas Karat, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. All the best.